Inside Edition welcomes you. I'm Bill O'Reilly. We're glad you're with us today. In addition to our headline stories, we sent downtown Julie Brown to the Kentucky Derby, and she reports back as only Julie can. That in a little while. But first up today, he billed himself as a man of the supernatural, a man who could do amazing things, and thousands believed him, making him a celebrity. But it was all an elaborate hoax. Joel Loy with our report.
I am Carlos.
His name is Jose Alvarez, a 19-year-old who says he is the channeler of an ancient spirit named Carlos. And they came by the hundreds, the faithful and the curious. They came to hear pearls of wisdom cast by the spirit of Carlos.
Learn that spirit.
Channeling is one of the latest in a long list of spiritual fads. Believers think spirits talk through the channeler's body.
Do you believe him?
Yeah, I do.
If you are a little more skeptical, consider this. When the spirit of Carlos enters Jose's body, his pulse slows down and virtually stops. Amazing! And nearly an entire nation swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. You see, Australia had been set up by a well-thought-out public relations campaign. A press packet including a book of Carlos's teachings, various glossy pictures, and other paraphernalia was sent to key media figures in Australia prior to the arrival of Carlos.
This is Radio WOOP here in New York.
This video shows a New York radio interview with Carlos and one of his Broadway appearances, which all helped to bolster his image as a New Age celebrity in the United States. The well-orchestrated media campaign began as soon as his plane landed with a full-scale press conference.
Can you give us any idea of what this event might be?
It will be astronomical in nature.
In no time, Carlos and his manager found themselves an overnight success. When the Aussie press tried to debunk Carlos, as they did here on a national talk show, Carlos and company abruptly ended the interview, threw a glass of water at the host, and stormed off the set. That stunt had all of Sydney talking, and within 60 hours after stepping off the plane, Jose Alvarez had made 8 television and numerous radio appearances and had become headline news. But behind the extraordinary saga of Carlos was another story. On the same airplane that brought Jose Alvarez and his spirit Carlos to Australia was another very important passenger, one James Randi, a magician and skeptic, better known as the Amazing Randi. Unbeknownst to the Australian public and media, Randi would pull the strings in what may be one of the greatest hoaxes ever perpetrated upon an entire continent. With the backing of an Australian TV show, Randi virtually manufactured a mystical media celebrity.
All we did is we put him in a white robe. We gave him a big synthetic quartz crystal, because he was a synthetic channeler after all. And he oomed and awed over this thing and screamed and carried on.
I am a very old spirit.
Remember that first press conference? Well, take another look.
Can you give us any idea of what this event might be?
It will be astronomical in nature.
It will be astronomical in nature.
While Carlos spoke to Sydney's assembled media, Randi spoke to Carlos from a concealed room next door, feeding him all the appropriate answers. The seed for this manipulative media campaign was laid back in Randi's hometown of Fort Lauderdale, Florida, where he spends a lot of his time debunking so-called channelers. There, he and Jose gave me a behind-the-scenes look at the making of Carlos.
I insisted that if we did this business of creating a channeler, that it would have to be done with an untrained person. As I was talking on the phone, it occurred to me that my friend Jose Alvarez was sitting in the kitchen cleaning an airbrush. So I said, hold on a second, and I yelled at Jose. I said, Jose, you want to go to Australia?
And Carlos was created.
I am Carlos.
Well, we figured that we had to show that the media are irresponsible in that if it looks good to them, if it's got the right flavor and the right number of syllables in the words and such, that they'll actually think people want to hear what the message is. So we created fake newspaper articles. I worked them up on my computer. We printed a 75-page booklet called The Wisdom of Carlos. We went into station, WWOR, I guess it is in New York now, and we covered over the call letters on the microphone and put in station WOOP, station Whoop, Then we got Penn and Teller, who were on Broadway at the time, and we asked them if we could use their theater, and Carlos went out into the middle, pardon me, Jose, went out into the middle of the stage, became Carlos instantaneously, and sat there doing some silly stuff, swaying back and forth.
Staging the media events was just part of their scheme. They needed a gimmick the media could focus on. The pulse-stopping routine fit the bill.
The way it's done is very simple. You simply take a rubber ball and put it in your armpit and then bear down on it, and it cuts off the flow of blood temporarily to the wrist, and they're hunting around, they can't find the pulse.
All the media had to do to unmask Carlos was to make one phone call to the United States and check any of the claims made in the manufactured press package. No one did. Is there something in us that needs to have something like this?
The underlying thing is a need for magic, an appeal to magic. I want to control nature, or know that there's somebody out there who can control nature and perhaps give me some hints on how I can go about it. But we looked into the audience, and there were people with tears coming down their faces, people clutching crystals and doing this kind of a thing. It was as if a miracle were taking place in front of them.
When all these people were crying, I felt very bothered by the whole thing, but then I thought there are actually people out there doing it for real.
The fakes that are out there operating this sort of a scam don't tell anybody that it's a fake. They just get fat on the money and they run away with it. But what they charge these people is not the money they pay to get into the theater. They charge them their emotional stability, in some cases their health, and in some cases even their lives.
Well, even after the hoax was made public, many in Australia were not upset. The feeling was it was very entertaining while it lasted. Much more to come today on Inside Edition. Say goodbye to Dallas. It's history after tonight. And up next, Jimmy Smits. Will he go to the top after starting from the bottom?
Well, what the hell do you know about what I went through?
I remember watching on television the Emmy ceremonies and the Oscar ceremonies, and of course thinking about getting involved in this business, and that's happened.
You probably know that the flavor of extra sugar-free gum lasts an extra long time. But you know what I discovered? Extra Winter Fresh. It gives my breath a freshness it's never had before. It keeps my breath winter fresh an extra long time. After all, what good is fresh breath if it doesn't last?
Keep your breath winter fresh an extra long time.
Mattress Plus. It's yours exclusively at Slumberland. It means you'll get the brands you know and trust, plus a whole lot more. Mattress Plus means guaranteed low prices. It means next-day deliveries, guaranteed. It means we'll haul away your old mattress. And Mattress Plus means we'll exchange your mattress or buy it back if you're not totally satisfied. And this Saturday only, everything in Slumberland's huge $7 million inventory is reduced. Absolutely everything. Super savings, super selection, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's the Super Saturday sale at Slumberland.
The Men's Warehouse opens in Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Hi, I'm George Zimmer, president and founder of the Men's Warehouse. We sell designer clothing for less, including hard-to-fit sizes like these athletic cut suits. They're sold all over the country for $3.95. At the Men's Warehouse, they're only $2.95. And that's not a grand opening price. It's our everyday low price. I guarantee it.
The Men's Warehouse in Roseville, Edina, Minnetonka, and Burnsville.
Over 100 years ago, the Twin Cities began to take shape. From buildings to roadways, the metro area started to grow at a feverish pace. The expansion continues today. So where do we grow from here? With more cars on the road today, how are we going to get around? Also, where will new superhighways be built? And with all this growth, when will these new freeway projects begin? Where do we grow from here? Find out Tuesday at 10 on today's WCCO Channel 4.
You know, if a guy like Jimmy Smits can become a big star, it means the American dream is still alive. He stars in L.A. Law, and his new movie with Ellen Barkin could make him a film superstar. Rick Kirkham with a profile.
Well, what the hell do you know about what I went through?
Jimmy Smits is America's hottest Hispanic actor, winning an Emmy Award on the hit series L.A. Law and even starring opposite Jane Fonda on the big screen. But Jimmy's real-life struggle was similar to his characters in the upcoming movie Fires Within. A native of Brooklyn, New York, Jimmy's Spanish. But by his early teens, Jimmy's family had returned to the blue-collar New York neighborhood where he was born. Hollywood and stardom seemed an impossible dream. But it was here that Jimmy's thoughts first turned to show business.
I remember watching on television the Emmy ceremonies and the Oscar ceremonies, and of course thinking about getting involved in this business, and that's happened. So
in junior high school, Jimmy got his first taste for acting.
I went to a junior high school called George Gershwin Junior High School, where we did these lavish musicals every year, and that was like where I got bit, you know, by the bug.
By the time he graduated to Thomas Jefferson High School, Jimmy had become a very determined young man.
Smitty was the type of person that you wouldn't find him cutting classes. He would go to class while others was hanging out. He was determined to be a movie star.
Jimmy's music teacher, Leonard Apicella, spotted his pupil's talent and tried to direct it into music.
He seemed to be goal-oriented. He knew what he wanted. I knew that he was on the football team. I knew he was involved in drama. I had wanted to get him into my school chorus, and I was never able to attract him into it.
Jimmy's marriage to his high school sweetheart, Barbara, and even fathering a daughter, Taina, now 16, and later a son, Yakim, now 8, couldn't change Jimmy's plans.
Jimmy, I think as a very young man, became a father. I think he was married and trying to deal with being a family man and also developing a career and following a dream. And that's really very, very difficult.
But Jimmy's determination carried him across the Brooklyn Bridge to Broadway. It was there he was picked for a role in 1984 in the pilot of Miami Vice. It would make him a TV star. Briefly.
Just screams dealer, you know what I mean. That's right. And don't worry, I'm going to get you some new clothes. Eddie? No!
Many actors would be bitter about being killed off in the pilot of a series that went on to become a huge hit, but not Jimmy Smith's.
I knew, you know, when we were shooting that, it was part of the script. I just went back to Brooklyn and back to New York and kept on working off Broadway, and I knew I didn't wind up doing too bad with the television thing, with LA Law, so I'm okay.
That's an understatement. Jimmy's role as Victor Cifuentes on the hit series earned him an Emmy and an Nosotros Golden Eagle Award, recognizing him as an inspirational Hispanic star. Since divorced, Jimmy's constant companion these days is actress Wanda de Jesus. But that hasn't stopped his passionate portrayal of the fiery attorney from making Jimmy Smits an international heartthrob.
Merry Christmas.
But Jimmy never forgot his roots. He was recently crowned King of Brooklyn, and he'll preside over the upcoming festival in his old neighborhood. He also constantly works as a positive role model for his young fans.
If you do crack when you're pregnant, your baby does too. Please, don't let your kid's life go up in smoke.
When I get letters from kids from Chicago or Florida or New York telling me that I've inspired them to continue on to go to college or stuff like that, that's the gravy on the cake.
Now, after 5 years, Jimmy is quitting his full-time role on the show that's made him a star. With 2 major feature films, Switch and Fires Within, ready for release, you'd think he'd have nothing to worry about.
It's very tough. It's scary a little bit, too. But the worst thing, I think, in life is not knowing. You know, that 10 years could pass and you can say, well, you know, I could have, I should have. I'm gonna go for it. And the relationship that we have on the show is such a great one that, you know, the doors are open and I'll go back and play with them.
With his ongoing guest appearances on LA Law and his flourishing film career, the kid from Brooklyn has done just fine.
I just live one day at a time, and I'm real happy right now. I'll take them as they come.
And advanced word on Switch, Jimmy's new film with Ellen Barkin, is that it's a pretty hot picture. It opens next Friday. Coming next, the stars of Dallas tell us what it's like to say goodbye.
I started out as a scared little kid, and I just had a wonderful time based on the